start being visible. It's super important that you take charge of building your personal brand. Even as an employee, your personal brand can unlock opportunities for you in ways that your current job probably can't do.
All right, so hello and welcome to Your Brand, Your Business, the show where we dive into stories and strategies behind building a successful and profitable brand. I am Marie, your host of this podcast, and I am also entrepreneur and brand strategist. Today, I am really excited to introduce you our guest, Mildred Talabi, who will be sharing her expertise on how to start being visible. And I am super excited for this. Mildred, thank you so much for joining us. And can you please tell us more about yourself, who you are, and what is it that you do?
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me to your show, Marie. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. So, what do I do? Wow, where do we start? But I think I'll give you the short version in terms of I started my career as a journalist, and then I transitioned into if I'm from the media into communications, but which is what I do now as well, alongside running my own business. I've always had my own business alongside my career, and that evolved from things like helping. I ran a CV makeover business for about 12 years, helping mid to senior level professionals change careers through writing their CVs, their resumes, as it's known in some places. And then after that, I kind of went from just doing CVs into doing LinkedIn profiles for people. And then from there, I discovered that actually there's so much more that you can do with LinkedIn than just to have it, use it as an online CV. So I transitioned into LinkedIn coaching in beginning of 2020. And specifically, I help women today to start being visible on LinkedIn in order to build powerful personal brands that will unlock opportunities for your business and your career.
What an inspirational journey. I really like how you told us about the background, that it was not always that you knew exactly that this is it. There was a journey behind the development and evolution. And is it always about that the entrepreneur is like going really like from one direction to another? Is it always like try and error? Because it seems to me that the journey that you have is really similar to mine, that the evolution is where actually the clarity comes with the brand. So was it also in your case?
Yeah, and I think for me as well, I'm somebody who, so I believe that we spend way too much of our lives at work to just do any job for the sake of it, just to pay the bills. I understand that there are seasons when you may just have to take any job, pay the bills, but that should not be your career and that should not be your relationship with work overall. So I'm somebody I've always felt that I have to do work that I love. I have to do work that I enjoy, and I have to do work that I find meaning and purpose in, and also work that pays me, So it's been a case of following my passions and my desires, what I sometimes call my inner vocation. So having started out in the media, I thought that was the pathway for me. And along the way, it was like, actually, this doesn't quite feel like the right fit. What else is it? And then I moved into comms. And then again, on the business front is evolving with the business, after 12 years of talking about CVs and writing many and written books on it, 2 books on job hunting, etc. Did lots of talks everywhere. It's like I was like, I think I've said everything that I want to say about CVs and job hunting. So it's time for something different. And I started to, at that time, I was starting to feel this pull towards LinkedIn. So that was a natural pathway of, again, following my inner vocation, my desires, in terms of this is where I feel like I'm being led to. So I'm gonna go there and focus and put everything into it. And that's what I did, and I find some good success on LinkedIn in doing so. So I do believe in, as an entrepreneur, it is kind of like you start somewhere, and then don't be afraid to evolve as you go, or even to stop something if you've been doing it and it's not working. Yeah, don't be afraid to stop it and try something else, because I don't believe that failure exists. I believe that, as I say to my kids, there are no such thing as failures, only lessons. So if you learn from it, it's not a failure, so you can always move on and adapt from there.
I love it. And I think that your kids are really lucky that they have this lesson already from the beginning because it's about lessons, it's about learning. I also learned recently that it's really important to know when to say stop because sometimes entrepreneurs they are just pushing a lots of time and money into something that they know that doesn't work, but it's like their baby. But it's usually that it's like it's try and error, and it's also like important to set barriers when you can also say like, all right, this was already enough, maybe let's try something else, or like let's reposition myself a bit what actually the market needs. And it's always about the exploration and evolution. And
Mm.
what actually inspired you to focus exactly on a LinkedIn as a platform to help women leaders to amplify their influence? Because, like, why didn't you, for example, start it with Instagram or TikTok or other platforms?
Well, I can't stand all of those pointing that people used to do on Instagram and TikTok, right? But no, seriously though, it's funny because I've been on LinkedIn since, I don't know, maybe 2003 or something, but it's when I joined LinkedIn. But like most people, I started off using the platform just like an extension of my CV. It's like, okay, here's where I can put myself out there and see what happens. But along the way with my CV business first, I noticed that when I put things out, I would post every now and again when I was inspired, which was maybe like once a month, twice a month, at most, that kind of rhythm. But I would find that a lot of my clients would approach me through LinkedIn. So people were finding me from LinkedIn. And this is with me doing minimal activity. And back then, I didn't know all this personal branding stuff. So I had been branding myself over the years, but unintentionally.
Mm,
So the shift came towards the end of 2019. It's like I really felt this urge that LinkedIn was going to be like the platform to focus on. By this point, I had built like some kind of presence there, but again, I wasn't posting regularly. I was just putting things out every now and then, and I had a profile on there, all that kind of stuff. So I felt like LinkedIn is a platform to focus on. You need to go all in. I had this real sense of you need to go all in on this platform. So I said, okay, right, beginning of 2020, I decided to go all in, and I went from posting every now and again when I was inspired to I took up this 30-day challenge that somebody was doing. It was a paid challenge for 30 days. The challenge was to post every single day on LinkedIn for 30 days. And I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that because, like, what am I going to talk about? Which is probably what a lot of people fear. I was like, what am I going to talk about? I mean, I was posting twice a month. Now to post every day for 30 days. But I like challenges. So I was like, let's see. Let me give it a shot and see what happens. And I ended up doing that challenge. I ended up posting every single day for that 30 days. And then I didn't stop. I continued. And so for 4 years in a row, I posted every single weekday and occasionally weekends on LinkedIn. And it was absolutely phenomenal for my brand in terms of furthering my own visibility. But I started to share along the way what I learned in the process with people. And I started to find an audience of women really started to gather to me because what the stuff the principles of LinkedIn applies whether you're a man or a woman, but I find that there's some unique challenges that we face as women in terms of our visibility. Obviously not every woman, but generally coming out, putting yourself out there is something that a lot of women that I've worked with, it's not so easy for them. It's something that they have to think about. It's something that's like a big deal. So I realized that there's an audience there, especially for women, to really kind of master this art of putting yourself out there because the days of just waiting to be recognized are gone. The days of like, if I put my head down and work hard enough, someone will notice. Those days are gone too. So we are in the days of personal branding. We are in the days of putting yourself out there and showing and sharing the image how you want to be known, taking control of your brand because you have one. So that's really how I ended up realizing that this is a niche, there's a demand for it. And also the timing was divine as well because again, so beginning of the year is of 2020 is when I did this, and then about 3 months later, from about March, COVID happened, and now suddenly we're in lockdown, and now no one can go out anymore to network. People are like, oh my God, I need to still connect with people and network and build my professional thing. How do I use this platform called LinkedIn? And there I was already positioned to help people with LinkedIn. So that really helped to accelerate my growth on LinkedIn in terms of my business and building a community, which later became my Visible Women Tribe. So the timing was also absolutely perfect for the whole thing, which confirmed that urge, that spiritual urge that I felt to just get on there and get on LinkedIn right now.
Nice. I love it. I love that you already were on LinkedIn since 2003, that you have a really long experience with LinkedIn and also the 30 days challenge and like all of these impressive stuff that you did. And you also wrote a book, Start Being Visible. Can you tell us maybe more about what are the key steps that any leader can take to start being visible, or any woman leader
Mhm.
can start to be a visible, instead of like only like this 30 days challenge actually?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I wrote the book Start Being Visible. The original version came out in September 2020, and then the updated version came out last year. So there is a nice big nice packed updated version available. But so the book covers absolutely everything you need to know to build a powerful personal brand on LinkedIn, whether you're doing it for career purposes or for business. So the key thing about that I share in my book. There's so much else, but the PACE formula, which I'll share with you now. It's like if you want to start being visible on LinkedIn, what I call the PACE formula is where you need to focus. PACE stands for profile, audience, content, and engagement. So profile, you need to have a profile that really speaks to your audience and communicates your message, your brand message very clearly, because that is going to attract people on your behalf 24/7, because LinkedIn as a platform, as of now, has over 1 billion users on the platform, and there's always somebody online, around the world, across the world. So if you have a powerful profile, you can potentially be attracting your target audience, whether that's for clients or work purposes, all the time. So that's the very, very first one, the key. All of these four, by the way, are equally important. So it's like a table with four legs. If you take away one of the legs, it's not quite as steady, right? So the second one, audience, is you need to have clarity on who your audience is on LinkedIn. You can't just go on there and just say, well, I'm just going to put out posts, I'm going to talk to everyone. That's never going to work. If you try to resonate with everybody, you will resonate with nobody. So you need to pick an audience. Okay, who do I want to speak to? Like I said, my message, visibility, start being visible. I speak to female leaders and business owners. Now, I have had men approach me and use my services. I've had men as clients, but they are not my core audience. So in my posts, in my content, I speak to my audience. So it's important that you know who your audience is, and you speak to them in your profile and also in your content, which takes us to the C, content. If you want to be visible on LinkedIn, you have to show up with content and on a regular basis. Now, do you have to post every single day like I did all those times? Not necessarily, but if you are serious about using LinkedIn to build your business or to elevate your career, you need to show up regularly. And I tend to advise my clients to at least show up 3 times a week. So it's that the consistency of that showing up with the valuable messages, etc. Not just putting out any old rubbish, right? So you need a content plan, but that consistency is what's going to help to build your brand and unlock those opportunities for you. And then finally, the last one is engagement in the PACE formula. So engagement is how you engage with other people on the platform. LinkedIn will not work for you if you just post and dump, or if you just lurk. So you just come in, you see what other people are doing, and you go out. You don't engage, as in you don't like anybody's stuff, like, love, react, whatever it is to the post. You don't leave comments. You don't deliberately go out to add people to your network. If you don't do those things, you're missing out on a huge piece of the personal brand building. So you need to engage on LinkedIn, engage with people on LinkedIn, and that's what's going to help you. So all these together, if you want to start being visible, follow the PACE formula, and you've got an excellent starting point that will see you through for a long time.
Yes, so it's profile, audience, content, and engagement. And
Yeah.
then also the Start Being Visible book for other additional tips for how to build your brand and being visible on LinkedIn. I love it. But when we are speaking about LinkedIn as being social media platform, and there are also out there other social media platforms like, for example, Instagram. We know that Instagram is, let's say, at its really big peak, like over 40% of people being content creators, and it's really difficult to actually get through the algorithm to start to be visible on the Instagram. Where we are currently on LinkedIn, are we at the peak, at the beginning, where we are currently? If I'm now like considering if I should invest my time into LinkedIn, um, do I have a lot of chances that I will actually be visible?
Absolutely. So LinkedIn is behind the other platforms. One in terms of size as well. So Instagram, Facebook, etc. They've got way more people on the platform. So they've got more than 1 billion, which LinkedIn has only just entered the 1 billion. Um, so that's the first thing. But also in terms of the number of people who are actively creating content on LinkedIn, it is small. It's less than 10%. Some estimates is about 5 to 7% of the people on the platform are the ones who are actually being visible and creating content. So because a lot of people are intimidated by LinkedIn being a professional platform, they hold back. They hold back themselves in terms of what they put out there, so they don't post content, they lurk. So if you start today, and I mean today, whenever you hear this, let that be your today. If you start today, you've still got the chance to use the platform and organically build your visibility. Now, I will say though, so Facebook and Instagram, etc., are going, especially Facebook. It's like definitely pay to play model over there. You get zero visibility, but Instagram, etc., they are very saturated. LinkedIn is slowly going in that direction, but because they're going there slowly, there's still opportunity for you to get in now. You can still organically build an audience without paying for advertising, without, doing all of these other things that you have to do on the other platform. And it just starts with you, first of all, making a decision that you're going to start being visible, and then following the PACE formula that I just spoke about, and get started on it today. But the opportunity is still there on LinkedIn.
Mm.
Definitely.
What are the biggest obstacles that you hear from the women leaders that they don't want to really start with LinkedIn, or like, is your ideal audience already on LinkedIn, like really active, established, or you even provide the services, for example, for the people who wants to start on LinkedIn, and what might be their obstacles in order to actually start?
Yeah, so I work with women who are brand new to LinkedIn, and I also work with women who have been on LinkedIn, but they have no idea what they're doing on LinkedIn. So they haven't had any results from it, or they've done some things, they've tried some things, and they don't know what they're doing because they have no strategy. So whether you're somebody, you're in a place where you're like, okay, I'm kind of curious about this platform, but I don't know where to get started. I work with women like that. Or you're like, okay, I've been on this platform for a while. I've been doing bits. I've picked up a few bits here and there. I've learned this. Maybe I've read one or two books, but I'm not seeing anything happening. I don't really know what I'm doing, if I'm doing it well. I also work with those women. So, but in terms of the obstacles in Start Being Visible, my book, I do talk about the 7 key obstacles that stop women from being visible on LinkedIn and building their personal brand here. So one of the key things I hear all the time is this fear of judgment. Again, because as I said a few times already, because LinkedIn is a professional platform, in the sense that where Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, people are more social on there, kind of thing. But because LinkedIn does have a more professional audience, people get intimidated by that and feel like they have to like put on a different persona, for example, that they can't be themselves on LinkedIn. So that's a myth that I like to burst right now for you, that you absolutely, not only can you be yourself, but you need to be yourself. You need to be your authentic self if you are going to build a personal brand that attracts the audience that you're looking for, because your personality is your unique selling factor. It's your unique selling point. So lean into that. But so some of those obstacles is that whole thing of, do I have to be professional? Can I be myself on LinkedIn? What will people think of me? What if I say something silly? What if I, what if I look stupid on there? What if, all of those kind of thoughts around what other people think. But here's the thing, other people are not thinking about you. As much as our ego would have us think that, our other people are not thinking about you. For the most part, they are concerned with themselves and what they are doing or not doing on LinkedIn. And actually, there's a really supportive community on LinkedIn that you probably don't get on platforms like X, for example, where people can just anonymously troll you and then that's it. But because LinkedIn, for the most part, as linked to people's real profiles and they're linked to their jobs, etc., people behave themselves a lot better. So that's to say that there is an absolutely space for you to get started on this platform. And all those obstacles and those fears, what do I say? Those are some of the other things as well. You just need a strategy. As long as you have a plan and a strategy, the rest will follow. And honestly, you'll get to love it once you get into the platform, really well.
Nice. And I really like how you elaborated on this, that you should be yourself and that you should not feel like judged in the sphere of the LinkedIn, because there is a lots of professional audience that you actually have to be yourself in order to see the traffic. Uh, I have a question. How do you actually find your strategy? So, like, what are the steps to start to build your strategy? If I, for example, don't really have experience in posting content, if I don't know where to actually start, if I don't have product to sell, how can I start to build a strategy?
So that's a really good question. This is one of the key areas I work with clients on, because it's that whole thing of, there are some things that you need support and assistance with. This is where coaches come into. This is why I do LinkedIn coaching, because I know that people need support in that area to get started and get off the ground. So first out, and I will put this out right now. If you are serious about using the platform and you want to get some real benefits out of it, you're gonna need a coach. Whether it's me or somebody else, it doesn't matter, but you're going to need somebody to support you in that journey, to help you be accountable. I have a coach. I've used coaches in every area of life where I wanted to, get success, and even in my hair, believe it or not. I had a hair coach because I needed to learn how to do hair properly for my daughters, but that's a story for another time. But it's really, really good that you invest in getting help for yourself to meet the goals that you want for your business. But let's say that you don't take that line and you want to create a strategy. The first place I would start is asking yourself, okay, what is my goal? What do I want out of LinkedIn? So is it that I want to attract more clients for my business? Is it that, if you're a female executive, for example, which is some of the audience I work with, is it that I want to be recognized for promotion in that next role? So, because your goal will determine your strategy. So that's always the starting place. Okay, what's the goal that I want? If you are looking for clients, for example, then it's like, okay, what kind of clients am I looking for? Now, where would they be? So you need a strategy around how to find them. Where are they hanging out on LinkedIn? Because they are there. It's about finding them. And I actually have a little mini program called ABC Challenge, which deals with this, a little course. But it's finding where your audience are and meeting them where they are. But also it's creating content that attracts them. So there's two parts that you're doing. You're putting out content that is attracting them, but also you're going out there to find where they are, and then you're pulling them in with your content. So the two, almost like rowing a boat, the two need to work hand in hand in order for you to get your to your success. But just to reiterate, if you want to create a strategy, the starting place is, what is my end goal? What do I want to achieve from this platform? And then from there, you work backwards from there in terms of the audience, the content, and then create an engagement plan, and off you go from there.
Mhm. So start with a goal, get clear about what you want to actually do, what you want to do on LinkedIn, get a coach who can actually buy you a lot of time and also a lot of money. We all know that the starting at the small business is really costly. from the time resource, but also the money resource. And then you can start to also manage the engagement strategy, who is your audience, how to attract these people on LinkedIn, and different aspects. Are
Mhm.
there some are there some tips from the LinkedIn engagement strategy that you are currently doing, and what the LinkedIn currently really likes? Like, for example, commenting on second and third connections, or something
Mhm.
that you like discovered recently because of the updates of LinkedIn, and you are like, yes, this works, and it's
Mhm.
new and modern.
Yes, keeping up with the algorithm is a real nightmare, So that's the thing, and because the algorithm. So right now, LinkedIn over the past maybe I don't know, maybe I'm about to say maybe 4 months or so. The real focus that LinkedIn has been trying to do is push out videos. So they're trying to come for some of TikTok's audience. So they've been pushing out videos. They've been encouraging people to create videos, TikTok style videos for the LinkedIn platform, and that's what's taking over the feed these days. So so one of the things that if you are trying to keep up with the algorithm, I do believe that it's important to be aware of what the algorithm is doing, but it is absolutely not something that I would say that you focus all your energy and efforts and just keeping up with the algorithm, because it's exhausting, and you will not enjoy the process if you're just 1 minute you're switching to this because now this is what LinkedIn is favoring. Next minute, so don't chase likes, don't chase engagement, don't chase these things. Focus on creating valuable content for your audience and use things like knowledge of what the algorithm is doing to support what you're already doing. But don't just do things just to chase viral, getting viral and all of that kind of stuff, because that is exhausting. That's the quickest way to burn out and be upset every day when you look at your post and you see, oh no, this hasn't reached here or it hasn't done this. So just I'm just putting that as an aside, because there will be times when you create a really fantastic post and you think, yeah, this is a great post, and you put it out there and it's crickets. It's crickets. It's like maybe you get 1 2 likes if you're lucky, and then sometimes you put out a post and you're thinking this is just going to be whatever, I'm putting it out there, and that's the thing that everybody loves. So there's that unpredictable element as well of the algorithm. But just going back to your question, so LinkedIn is promoting video content right now at the time of this interview that we're doing. And also, what works as well in algorithm. So remember I mentioned about engagement. So when you are putting out content, it's important that you also engage around the same time. So pick a posting time. With a lot of these things, is like consistency helps. One, it helps to train your audience, like, okay, this is when to expect you. It also helps to train you because it gives you some structure as well, right? So for example, I post at around 6:30 a.m. because that's the time that works for me. Morning is a good time, to post, because then you've got the rest of the day for everybody to catch up, in all the different time zones. But 6:30 works for me because it's before my kids wake up, before I do all the school run stuff. So I put my post, but at the time that I put out my post, I also engage. And that means replying to comments on my previous post, maybe replying to comments or engaging with comments on other people's posts at the same time. That makes the algorithm happy, in terms of you just, so it's not just you dumping content, but you're also engaging as well, because the whole aim of the algorithm and all these social media platforms is to keep you there. So when you're doing activities that keep you on a platform, they're happy, it's happy. So just maybe get into a little routine of when you're posting content, engage a little bit before, engage a little bit after, and then you put it out there. And if you've got time to engage throughout the day as well, maybe in a little lunch break, that kind of stuff, just to keep the conversations going and to feed your content baby, so to speak. But yeah, so I do on my LinkedIn, feel free to follow me if you're listening to this, but I do kind of share new updates on things LinkedIn are doing as and when it happens, so you can stay up to date on that, and through my weekly newsletter as well, Visible Woman newsletter.
Nice. I really love it. And just clarification, 6:30 a.m. American time, I guess. You're
Oh,
in
it's my time. Yeah, I'm in the UK, so
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's AM. It could be so the nice posting window generally is like the morning time. 6:30 is probably early, to be honest. It's like that 7 to 9 is a sweet spot, wherever you are in the world, right? Because it's morning time for you. But I just can't do that time period because it doesn't work for my life, and I prioritize my life before I prioritize the algorithm. So if you can post within that 7 to 9 kind of time slot and it works for you, then that would be a nice window that generally tends to have the most engagement because people are, maybe checking in before they start their working day, all of that kind of stuff. So, but maybe experiment with different times, find what works for you, and then stick to that.
I'm experimenting a lot, but I never experiment with morning. I don't like experimentations in the morning. I'm not really creative in the morning. So maybe I will try one day when I will be like, yeah, tomorrow is the day. But then usually I'm like, nah, like noon, rather like lunch break. And these kind of times work better for me. Also, like for the engagement, it's for the people on the other side to just also have the kind Marie, not the morning one. So, but really good tip with the morning and with how to feed the post and the engagement. You also mentioned burnout. So I also myself and also with my clients, we are experiencing like a social media burnout. It's usually that there is at the beginning overload of what is required for the content. We don't really see the engagement that we would like to see at the beginnings. So what do you advise for women, but not only, to get out of the burnout or to even like avoid it in the best place? Is it actually even avoidable? Because it seems to me that it's a bit part of the evolution that we are stretching our, like it's something new, it's uncomfortable, we need to do it, it's another task on our to-do list. Is it actually avoidable, the,
Hmm.
to have a burnout on social media?
I am going to tell you that yes, it is absolutely avoidable, right? As I said earlier on, I posted on LinkedIn from that 30-day challenge. I posted every single day and weekends occasionally as well, and I did not burn out for 4 years. So I paused for about a year, and I'm back on it again, daily posting. But that was because my life went in a different direction, and for a moment I was like, okay, I'm not going to do LinkedIn coaching for a while. I'm going to do something else. But again, another long story. But in that time, in that 4 year period where I did that, I did not burn out. And here's the thing. A lot of the time we have to put social media in its place. Social media is a tool. It is not real life. So I have made some great friends and some great connection. I was at an event just last night where I spoke at an event, and there's people in the audience that I know from LinkedIn and I met from the first time, and it was like we've been friends forever. So social media is great, and you can absolutely make real connections there, but we have to put it in a place that it is a tool, and it is a tool that you're trying to use to build your profile, grow your business, advance your career, whatever it is. So one of the things I always tell my clients is to detach your ego from your post. It's easier said than done, right? Because as I said, sometimes you put out a post and you expect engagement and you don't get any, and it's like, oh my God, I'm so rubbish. It's not, oh, I'm so rubbish. No one wants to engage with me. But it's like your job is to be consistent, put that post out, and let the post do its work. Each post is going to hit different. Some will land well with your audience, some won't land. As you get more consistent knowing what your audience likes and what their voice is, you will land more than you don't. But really, don't look at the how many people have liked or engaged every day, because that stuff will wear you out and it will burn you out. But also, it's like if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you are going to get burnt out a whole lot quicker. So one of the reasons I have a TikTok account and I just give them my leftovers from LinkedIn. Same with Instagram, right? So I just put videos I create for LinkedIn, I throw it up on TikTok, and I also throw it up on Instagram. But I don't create content for either of those platforms, uniquely, because that is not my video. I love video and I love to do it, but creating video every day, that would absolutely stress me out and burn me out, because that is not my natural place that I love the most. So one of the things as well, so identify what works most for you. I like writing first of all, and I also love videos, and I love live videos. But writing every day, putting that post written form, I can do that without feeling burnt out. I do videos at least once a week, and that works for me. If I had to create videos every day for a platform like TikTok or Instagram, I would be burnt out. It wouldn't work for me. So think about what works for you. If you're going to be posting on LinkedIn, don't also try to have again, something I advise clients, like, especially if you're learning a new platform, focus on that one platform for a period of time of at least 3 months. Put in all your energy and efforts on that one platform. Don't try and be on LinkedIn, be on Instagram, do a X, do a TikTok, have that YouTube account all at the same time because you're trying to reach your audience everywhere. No, recipe for burnout. So pick your best platform, invest your best energy there. Everyone else you can give your scraps. See, that's the way I like to put it. You can give your scraps, you can give your leftover. Once you've mastered that one platform, that's your main platform, then maybe you can add another one to it. But don't take on too much at the same time, and just finally just keep social media in its place. One of the things that I do, I understand the importance of visibility. This is what I preach. I have a background in PR and journalism, all of that kind of stuff. So I understand the importance of putting yourself out there. But I also have a limit. I don't put everything about myself out there. Like, for example, I rarely post about my kids, my husband, my family life, because that is my private space. And outside of social media, I need my private space so I can recharge my batteries away. So sometimes when we blur the lines between social media and real life, you've got no place to rest. So when you get burnt out from social, you've got nowhere to go because your life has become social media. And I really advise against doing that. That's dangerous. Like, keep your separate life, your private life separate. Doesn't mean if you can share your kids, everyone's different. You can share whatever element you feel like you need to, but just make sure that you have a private life and a place that you can step away from social media, recharge, refill your batteries, and come back again if you need to, because social media is a tool. It is not your life. So I hope that makes sense. But it's just, yeah, I don't like hearing about people getting burnt out, because it's like I feel like it's the strategies that are wrong and the positioning of where you put social media is wrong, and that can be fixed. You've got to like it at least, so you can avoid some of that.
It's a really powerful, Mildred, what you just shared with us to create the barrier between the social media and also the personal life. And especially, I don't know if you know that there is now a lot of, throughout the social media, mainly maybe Instagram, there is a saying, fuck your mood, follow the plan. So what I get from this, it's fuck your ego, follow the plan. In this case of posting on LinkedIn or on other platforms, because it's really important that your ego is actually outside of that amazing post that you just want to share. So this is something also that it's important to take into consideration. You said that you are posting every day on LinkedIn. What do you usually post about? Do you have some like a strategy that, like, for example, on Monday, Wednesday, I'm posting about business internal. On Thursdays, I'm posting a bit of like personal story, but within your barriers. On Tuesday, I'm posting, for example, about something else.
Hmm. So I create structure like that for my clients, right? But because I've done it for so long, I'm a lot freer with my own structure. So my structure is, so with if you're someone that's new to posting on LinkedIn, I definitely recommend having a structure of, like, okay, maybe Mondays is where I share an inspirational thought or quote or something that resonated with me. Wednesday, I might post a video. Friday, I might do something lighter, more personal, that kind of thing. I really encourage you to create a structure like that, because it helps you to stay with it, But in terms of my own thing, because as I said, I've done this for so long, it's kind of like, I know roughly once a week I will put out a video. One of my piece of content will be a video. One will be something like and something inspirational that I'm sharing with my audience because I've been inspired by it. Usually my own quote. I like to quote myself. I create memes with myself. So like usually something around that, and then I'll share maybe the rest of the time in a week. I'll share some tips around visibility. Something to do with LinkedIn that will help somebody. Add some value to them. Maybe how they can be more consistent on LinkedIn. Something around that, and then usually if I'm at an event or something that I've attended, then I'll share something around that. So mine is loose, but I do every weekend, usually on a Saturday, sometimes on a Sunday, is I sit down and I look at what am I gonna put out the next week. All throughout the week and all the time, I'm constantly jotting down ideas in my notes. So, and that's really important. When you get ideas, even if it's just a little fragment, write it down, capture the ideas, and more will come. So, usually when I'm in the shower, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll quickly grab my phone, write it down. And so, at the end of the week, at the weekend, I go through, I'm like, okay, what am I going to talk about this week? Oh, okay, right. This, that. Oh, it fits like this. And then I'll go through my notes and then I'll create a picture. Right now, because I'm currently in season 3 of my podcast, I have a podcast called Start Being Visible, which is currently running season 3. So my podcast is part of my posting routine. So I post about that twice in that 5 days. So once when I share the video clip, and another time when I share like the summary and then encourage people to go and listen. So it changes within the season, but what doesn't change is that I plan ahead. Don't leave it to the day to like think, oh my God, what am I going to post today? No, plan in advance. Give yourself, if you're new to it, give yourself at least a week in advance, where you've planned out your week's content a week ahead, and then even up to a month, if it helps you feel safer, because again, that's a way to like avoid running out of ideas and that stress of, oh my God, I don't know what to say. And then eventually, which will lead to burnout because you're always stressed about what to say. But if you put some structure in place, plan your content in advance, that will help eliminate a lot of that stuff.
Mm. And is LinkedIn alive during the weekend? Are there like people posting? Do you post during the weekend actually?
Absolutely, and I do post during the weekend, so people are on LinkedIn all the time, literally all the time. So and sometimes some people post lighter things on the weekend, but some people still also post work stuff and still get engagement. Sometimes there's more engagement on the weekend because those people who are working 9 to 5, who are scared that their boss will see them commenting on LinkedIn, can now comment on Saturday and Sunday and not feel not feel any way about it. So yeah, LinkedIn is definitely a 7 days a week platform, but it doesn't mean you have to be a 7 day a week on there. Because as I said, it's really important. The boundaries are super important to me. It's important that you put boundaries in place to protect your own emotional health, mental health, yours, on all of that kind of stuff. So you don't have to be there 7 days a week, but other people definitely are.
And you said about the employers. How can I be myself while employers can actually see me? Like, how to deal with this kind of feeling? Because like not everybody are self-employed, or not everybody are CEO founders. They're also normal professionals who maybe wants to start that side hustle, but there is really a strong culture in the company that if you are not dedicated, then like you then you don't belong to the company or something like this. How can I like be myself authentic while knowing this fact?
Hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And as I mentioned, I've had my foot in both employment and business space pretty much for my entire career. And my personal brand that I've built up has actually been an asset in a lot of the jobs that I've gone into. And even the role 2 roles before the current one I'm in, I was pretty much headhunted, and the skills that I used to build up my LinkedIn profile was exactly the skills that was needed in the job, that I did. So, and I work with clients all the time who worry about things like this. And here's how you get around that is that, one, the content that you're putting out there. So if you're putting out content that's around thought leadership, if your side hustle is similar to kind of what you do in your day job, etc., then you got to be a bit more careful in terms of how you do it. But what you can do is position yourself as a thought leader in the space. So you can talk about things from your work, but then maybe on the weekends you can talk about things that are relating to your side hustle. If you're somebody who wants to make that transition, you know. So, but or if they're complementary, then you can kind of sometimes talk about work, sometimes talk about the business stuff. But as long as you're not flogging your wares like, book me, buy my business, all of that, because then your employers are like, okay, what are you doing? So I know so many people on LinkedIn who, for example, occupy positions at work. Like, let's say there's a lady who does diversity and stuff like that, and a really big firm, quite high up. So her posts are really around the idea of diversity, and it complements the work that she does. In fact, I do talks for companies as well, where I talk about the power of your employee building your corporate brand, and you've got to give them that freedom to do that. So if you're an employee, start putting things out there, little things about just your around thought leadership pieces is what I'm calling them, around the area of work that you're doing, things that you're learning on the job. Not one of those boring, just reposting things from your company LinkedIn page, because no one cares about that stuff. But if you've done something good at work, then find a way to talk about it on LinkedIn. And as you start to do this, like I've done with many clients, you will find that you will start to be elevated in the right organization in the eyes of the people at work. So your visibility on LinkedIn actually contributes to your visibility back at work, because the two are linked. If you're connected with the right people and you're using it as an opportunity to showcase what you know outside of just the role that you do on a day-to-day basis. But it is absolutely possible to be visible and be an employee at the same time.
Love it. That's really motivational and inspirational for people out there, especially on LinkedIn, because I think that this is really number one, especially here in Europe, not that much in UK or US. I think in UK and US, LinkedIn got already another level that it's really like widespread to do the personal brand on LinkedIn and how to use it for employment. But here in Europe, we are still living that it's a CV, that you just exchange it with people when networking, that you give them just the QR code just to connect. But almost nobody is actually posting here. It's still a bit weird to post on
Mm.
LinkedIn. So it's really interesting what you are saying, that it can actually help you with the employment, with your employers, with even the relationship. You are still professional. Is it also possible, just thinking outside of the box, that I create on my LinkedIn that, for example, I have my employment and I have my side hustle, and my employer knows about my side hustle, and that I will use my LinkedIn only for my side hustle. I will not be mentioning my employer there, just like maybe side information. Yeah, I also work for this
Mhm.
XYZ. But is it also possible to use LinkedIn only for your side hustle? How to like invest in your future, in your next step, and independence, probably.
Yes, yes. No, that is, it is possible to do that. But just so quickly on what you said about in Europe, people not using it much. What I hear is that that is a real opportunity for anybody who says, you know what, I'm gonna put my hand out and I'm gonna start using it in a way where I build my brand and thought leadership. What's gonna happen is you're gonna be ahead of the pack. And what usually happens, people might criticize initially, and then they get inspired, and then you're the one getting all the accolades and all the opportunities. So if you're listening to this and in your field and in your industry, other people are not doing it, that's a great reason for you to start doing it and start being visible. So that's the first thing. But yes, there are times you can. So some people have tried this where they said, oh, okay, I'm gonna use it as for my side hustle, and I'm gonna block all my employers from seeing my profile and all my workmates and stuff. I don't believe that's a good strategy, to go and block your employers and workmates, etc. Because if they somehow find out, then it feels like you're kind of being deceitful. So I prefer that you're upfront with things like this. Whether it require unless your company specifically prohibits that you have a business on the side or anything like that. Some companies do, depending on where you work and what it is, then it's like it's something that you need to be open about. And also, but you have to do it in a sensible way. So, for example, don't be posting on LinkedIn at 12 o'clock in the middle of the afternoon on a work day, because then your boss will be thinking, hold on a minute, why are you on LinkedIn posting about your business when, I'm employing you to do whatever it is in the office? So that's one thing. You have to be strategic and clever about this. So things like, if you are going to do that, then maybe you put out your post before you start work, and then you interact after work. So you're not doing it in that 9 to 5 window. So if the boss ever says, oh, why are you doing this? It's like, actually, this is what I do in my spare time outside of work. I know it doesn't impact my work in any way because I'm still brilliant at work. So that's one thing. But I just want to touch on the fact that there might be times when it is better that you don't explicitly name the company that you work for. Like, for example, right now, I'm in a contract role, and in comms, as I said, I do communications and head of comms in a pharmaceutical company, but I don't name the exact company that it is on my LinkedIn profile because they have a lot of rules around social media stuff and what you can and can't do. So I'm like, it's better for me not to be associated with them publicly and just continue to do my stuff than to now have to be under all of the regulations of what I can or can't say on my own social media profile. So there are times where it's better to just do that and just kind of just put a vague description but not link directly to the company. Some people put things like views shared here are my own, so that there's clarity that this is just you and you're not representing the company. Because again, that's something that employers fear, that you're going to say something that's going to make them look bad. So these are just some of the ways to appease some of that. But I want to end that by saying it's super important that you take charge of building your personal brand, even as an employee, because a job is not guaranteed. Your job is not guaranteed, but your personal brand can take you through different roles, different transitions, and can unlock opportunities for you in ways that your current job probably can't do. So it's something that's worth investing the time and that risk of building, because it will pay off eventually if you continue with it.
Love it. It's a really nice wrap up of how you can start your side hustle on the LinkedIn, but not only, because you can also balance your employment and your side hustle there. Thank you so much, Mildred. My last question would be if you have something to share with our audience, some last comments, something that I maybe didn't pay enough attention during the questions that we have covered during this podcast episode, something that you would like to share, last comment, questions, or anything what you would like to say to our audience.
I know. I think you had some really brilliant questions. I really hope that this has been helpful to anybody listening. So, and if you are listening to this, I really, really, really want to reiterate the message of start being visible. Literally start today. Take that first step. And that first step is, okay, making a decision to say, right, this is something that I'm going to invest in, because I promise you it will pay off. When I started the journey of building my personal brand, as I said, initially it was accidental. And then when I became intentional about it, the way LinkedIn changed my life is what I like to say. Sounds like an exaggeration, but some of the opportunities that I've had as a result, I've even spoken in countries I've never been to, all expenses paid, all of that through connections on LinkedIn, receive recognition as LinkedIn top voice and lots of benefits that come with that. But it's like, and then also what it's done for my career and my own business. So being visible on this platform is great, but also how you can impart to other people as well. I can't tell you the number of times people have come to me, whether online or in person, and said, Mildred, because of you, this X, Y, and Z. My visibility unlocks other people's visibility. Your visibility will do the same for your audience. We all need each other to start showing up, especially as women. We need to see more of us in those places and those positions that we don't normally occupy, because that would then encourage other people to say, yes, if you can do this, so can I. So start being visible today.
Love it. And that's a wrap up for today's episode of Your Brand, Your Business. I hope you got some valuable insights to take your brand and business to the next level. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to be visible. Thank you so much, Mildred, for coming to our episode today and for sharing all of your valuable insights. We covered a lot from the employment, balancing with side hustle, from how to also inspire other women, how to inspire other people around you, and much more from also obstacles and how to overcome the burnout. And you guys, everything is also for you. Thank you so much for listening. And if you want more, then connect with me on Instagram, Marie Olivier, or also LinkedIn, or check out our coaching offers at marieolivier.com, and let's build a brand that works for you, not the other way around. And remember, your brand is your superpower, and see you in the next episode. Bye.